Hello, everyone. It looks like I am live. I just need to do some quick adjustments and then we can get started with our book club. 1 second, y'all, while I make some adjustments. Okay, perfect. Okay, now I'm just going to share this out real quick and then we'll get started with our discussion. Please talk amongst yourselves while I take care of that. 1 second, y'all. Oh, look, there I am. Okay, let me just share this real quick. Actually, hold on. I think I did something wrong. I did. Hold on 1 second, friends. Now, come on. One second, friends. Here we go. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay. All right. Now we're cooking with gravy. All right, everyone. I have now shared my live stream. So I'm going to get rid of that since I can read comments over here no matter what platform I'm on, thanks to the beauty of streaming. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today for the live stream. Also, thank you, replay viewers. Today, we're going to be discussing the book Loud. Hold on a second. Let me do this because I feel like I don't want to remove this. 1 second, friends. Here we go. Today, let me get rid of this too. I promise y'all, I am going to be about the business of fancy dancing. Let me get rid of this real quick too. 1 second, friends. Let's see, banner. There we go. Okay, so today we are going to be discussing the book Loud, Accepting Nothing Less Than the Life You Deserve by Drew Afualo. So also, I forgot to say at the very beginning, happy AAPI month. That stands for Asian American and Pacific Islander month. Hello, y'all. We see you out there. That's part of the reason why we're reading this book. Not just because Drew is an amazing personality and podcast host and writer, but she also is Samoan. And so we are reading her book today, or discussing her book to celebrate AAPI month. But before we get into that, we do have a couple of things that we need to talk about. Hang on, let me see if I want to do this. Yeah, let's get my head out the way. And now let's see if it'll let me shift. Okay, perfect. So now let's see if we can't do this. Boom. That's really what I wanted to do. Okay, perfect. Okay, so before we jump into this amazing book, I just wanted to give y'all a few brief announcements. And y'all, I promise, I'm usually more together than this. but I've got a lot going on right now, and I am doing my best. So let's get to the first thing. Okay, so the first announcement that we have in a continuation of the library celebrating AAPI month, this Tuesday, May the 20th at 1:30 p.m. here at Lamb Library, we will be hosting a program called Japanese obi tying. If you've ever seen Japanese women in traditional dress, there's like a little bun in the back of their kimonos. It's called an obi. So you're going to be learning how to tie obis. Registration is required. So please give us a call or so that you can register or see if we have any more room, or you can also register online. This is an event that's going to be taking place across the district. So if you can't come to the one here at Lamb on Tuesday, please give us a call or visit the website pueblolibrary.org so you can find out where else we'll be hosting this awesome, amazing event. Also, on Saturday, May the 24th, here at Lamb Library, starting at 9:30 from 9:30 a.m. till 5 p.m., we are going to be hosting a program called Make Time for FAFSA. FAFSA, FAFSA. I know it's sometimes a little bit difficult to hear me in the mass, but that's student financial aid. And I promise you, about, how old am I now? So maybe about 40 years ago, that would put me at 10. So maybe closer to 30 years ago, or a little bit less, a little bit more, give or take. I really wish that I had had some type of program to help me walk through FAFSA, or financial aid as it was called at the time. It would have made things a lot easier on me. So please don't pass up this opportunity. If you know a graduating senior, or actually even a junior or a sophomore, they can come too. Actually, it says ages 13 and older. So 13 and older, y'all need to start getting on these applications early so that you can get as big of a financial help to pay for college as you possibly can. So please let the library be a part of your educational plan by coming to this program Saturday, May 24th from 9:30 until 5 p.m. If you need more information, you can call us at 719-549-2563. That is 719-549-2563. And we'll also have people there who can speak Spanish. And then on May the 31st, which is a Saturday, from 1 until 4 p.m., we're going to be hosting our summer reading kickoff at Rawlings Library. That's the library at 100 East Aubriendo downtown. Again, that's Saturday, May the 31st, from 1 to 4. As usual, we're going to have so much fun. There's going to be giveaways, prizes. The Salida Circus is coming. They're going to have food trucks. They're going to have a great time. We really want you to come and participate. We want to help to extend your child's reading retention through the summer. So please come, sign up, get your kids registered for summer reading, sign up for summer reading, get some prizes, do some circus activities, eat some food from the food trucks. I don't even know who all is going to be out there, but I know it's going to be a good time, and I hope that you are able to make it. Okay, I do believe that is it. Let's see what we got here. Get my head out the way. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Drew. So Drew Afualo is a content creator and a women's rights advocate. Her writing has appeared in the Los Angeles Times, and she has been profiled in the New York Times, Nylon, and Rolling Stones. She was named Adweek's 2022 Digital and Tech Creator of the Year, Meta's Creator of Tomorrow, and one of Time Magazine's Next Generation Leaders. Afualo has covered the red carpet at the Academy Awards and hosts the Spotify exclusive podcast, The Comment Section. Loud is her first book. Let's talk a little bit about some of the awards that this book has got received. It's just a year old, so I'm sure it's going to receive a lot more awards as well. But it was longlisted for the audible.com best of the year for 2024. All right, so let me just read the synopsis of what this book is about, and then we can go from there. Drew Afualo is best known as the internet's crusader for women and has established herself as a preeminent feminist leader of her generation. Loud is part manual, part manifesto, and part memoir. It makes it clear that behind Afualo's fearsome laugh is a mission and a life philosophy, a strategy for self-confidence from the inside out, and a pathway to once and for all remove men from the center of how women and femmes think about themselves. Afualo has amassed more than 9 million followers across her social platforms. When she started creating content in 2020, she quickly realized that many men on social media were disparaging women and other marginalized groups with rampant fat phobia, racism, and other forms of bigotry. With rampant fat phobia, racism, and other forms of bigotry having very real consequences. It didn't take long for her to step into the role of unofficial watchdog for misogyny. Her signature laugh is now a feminist call to arms, a summoning cry to rid the internet and our hearts, minds, and lives of terrible men and fight outdated patriarchal ideas. Let me get this over here so I can keep an eye on things. Okay. All right. So some of the themes that we're going to be discussing, some of the things that we're going to be discussing are going to be embracing your voice, navigating personal struggles, social justice and advocacy, humor and vulnerability, finding community and solidarity. There's some other things that we're going to come across as well, but those are just kind of like hitting the surface. All right, let me see if I can't do this because I can't see all of my little controllers. Okay. So let's jump right into this. Let me put my head back on the screen. Okay, so now that we have a little bit of an idea of who Drew is, one thing, and I know that she had approval of the blurb in the front of the book. I just wanted to say, I don't think her laughter is fearsome. I guess if you're out here being a silly goose and being a misogynist, it might strike fear in your heart. But I quite enjoy her laughter. I do know who Drew is. I follow her on TikTok. I think she's quick-witted, humorous, and a fierce defender of the people that she cares about in her life and the morals and values that she aspires to live out daily. So anyway, I just wanted to say I don't think that her laugh is fearsome, but I guess if you got something to be scared of, then it might be fearsome to you. All right. Drew is fairly young. She's not even out of her 20s. I want to say she's like maybe 27 at the most. She could be 29, but I think she's still in her 20s. She talks about that in the introduction, about maybe thinking that she doesn't have a lot to add to because she is so young. But quickly, as you go throughout the book, you start to realize that a lot of other people do think that Drew has a lot to say and it's worth commenting on. I think sometimes they view her as like maybe an older sister who has lived life, who you go to get sound advice from. And I'm talking about the sound advice of the person who is not going to tell you what you want to hear, but maybe what you need to hear. So she might give you a little tough love, but she really is looking out for you, so to speak. And she kind of mentions this in the introduction of the book. She says she's known as Baba Yaga to misogynists online. And if y'all don't know who Baba Yaga is, she's one of my favorite people. I was going to say the whole wide world, but yeah, in the whole wide world, I love the Baba Yaga stories. Y'all need to come to the library and check some of them out. But basically, Baba Yaga is a witch who lives in a house with chicken feet. And she lives in the woods, and if you mess with her, you get dealt with, basically. So I can see why they call her that, because Drew has a similar energy about her. So why don't we start off with reading an excerpt? Let's do it from the first chapter. I really enjoyed this book as well. If you also, I forgot to mention, we also have this book available in audio. It is on Libby, which is free with your library card, and Drew reads the book. So that would be phenomenal. You'll really get to hear her laugh then. Okay, so let's start off. Meet the Afualos. I hope that everybody can hear me. Let me check the comment section really quickly to make sure that I am not missing anything. Also, be sure and like the page and share the live stream out. Please share the live stream so that everybody else can be a part of the cool kid party. Let me get my little phone here so I can see what's going on over here. Okay, meet the Afualos. In September 1995, right at the tail end of Virgo season, my parents' dreams came true, and the prophecy of all the world's worst men came to pass. I was born. I rolled into the world a 9-pound, 12-ounce baby, and I like to think that I came out cackling. Not just because I'm Samoan and our people are known for their sense of humor, but because I was born knowing the best and funniest people in my life still, my parents and my older sister. My parents named me Drew because my mom thought that a gender-neutral name would help me get job interviews later on in my life. She had seen a program on TV that explained how corporate businesses were more likely to choose the resume of a man over a woman after looking at the same name, even if the qualifications were exactly the same. It's almost as if she knew that I would grow up to antagonize misogynists for a living, and my name would become one that would haunt terrible men everywhere. My immediate family consists of my parents, Dason, and my younger brother, Donovan, who was born when I was 9. Dason is Drew's sister. We do have a really big extended family, first because Samoan families are huge, and also because my family has been in Southern California stretching back 3 or 4 generations. But when I was growing up, it was just the 4 of us, 5 once Donovan was born, as a very tight-knit unit. It's why I consider my family members my best friends, support system, and confidants, because we've been close from the beginning. As an aside, that's why I find it so funny when the anonymous misogynistic men in my comment section accuse me of quote-unquote fatherless behavior, because the reality is that I am entirely the way I am because my dad is so present and supportive. In addition to being a family-centric former athlete, he is a wonderful, caring, and emotionally intelligent person who has been a faithful and loving partner to my, can I say this? To my awesome mom. I'm going to have to censor some stuff, censor some curse words, because I'm going to err on the side of caution and not cuss. So hold on 1 second, friends. Let me check this real quick. Some doesn't look right, so I'm going to check this really quickly just to make sure that everything is okay. Yep, y'all, did y'all hear that? My little phone giving me an announcement. There we go. All right. Okay, so I'm not seeing any changes or anything in here. I just wanted to double check and make sure everything was all right. It looks like it's okay. All right, let's keep going. All right, where was I? In addition to being a family-centric former athlete, he is a wonderful, caring, and emotionally intelligent person who has been a faithful and loving partner to my amazing mom. Which, by the way, if you think I'm loud and outspoken, I know for a fact that you haven't met my mom, who is both the breadwinner and the beating heart of our family. My sister and I are 2 years apart in age, but grew up going to school only one grade apart. And because my parents were pretty young when they had us, sometimes it felt like we all grew up together. Dason, that's her sister, and I were surrounded by a community always. Our dad was often away because he was trying to parlay his college football success into a more steady and financially viable career. He started out as a walk-on in junior college, actually a walk-by. He was just walking around campus and the coach asked him to join the team, and went all the way to the NFL. Still, I know everyone thinks professional athletes are rich, but the reality is that only a very small percentage earn the kind of money that makes headlines. And as this was going on, our mom was launching her own career in corporate America and finishing school at the same time. We had a cohort of extended and chosen family to help with our upbringing. I often say it was like being raised by the cast of Friends because the adults in my life were young and accessible. As they say, it takes a village to raise a child. And fortunately, my siblings and I were no exception to that. This included my uncle and my godfather, who would take turns picking us up from school or taking us to sports practice or just generally stepping in and stepping up to make sure our childhood was unaffected by any instability as possible. They were each instrumental in my upbringing and are the reason I know that men today can do better if they choose to do better, because I grew up witnessing it with my own two eyes. On top of that, Dason and I had friends throughout middle and high school who'd get pseudo-adopted by our mom, living at our house for months on end. Who would get pseudo-adopted by our mom, living at our house for months on end. Seeing what a difference that kind of love from another family could make in people's lives, knowing that they had a person who was completely there for them, no questions asked, made me so proud of my mom and so determined to be like her. Because of this, or maybe because I trust them implicitly, I literally tell my parents everything. Not just the things that I think they would approve of, but also the hard, embarrassing things. Because I know my mom will keep it real with me, and if I'm doing something she doesn't think I should do, she'll tell me point blank, and usually I'll listen. But if I don't, she's only got herself to blame for my know-it-all mindset. By Samoan standards, our immediate family is pretty small. Just to give you a sense of what I mean, my dad comes from a family of 5 siblings, his dad from a family of 9, and his mom from a family of 14. My mom comes from a family of 3, but her dad comes from a family of 7, and his dad remarried after my maternal great-grandmother died. So at some point, I gained a whole bunch of step cousins, which makes it feel like I'm somehow always discovering a new cousin I never knew about. Even though we're from a small island culture, we're loud and we're proud, and we'll always make sure you know you're in the presence of a Samoan. It's pretty easy. Just follow the raucous laughter, because if there's anything my people know how to do, it's crack a joke. You know what? In the middle of this too, I think from what I'm understanding, a lot of island people have big families. And maybe I'm just making a broad general stereotype, and I'm trying not to do that. But I know a lot of island people, and they remind me of country people who have a lot of children or who have big families, is what I really should say. Anyway, that's just something I noticed. Nothing makes me more prouder than when fellow Samoans reach out to me and tell me how much they see our culture, from my familiar cackle to the jokes I make, to drag sexist men by their half-court hairlines embodied in everything I do. To my fellow Samoans and Polynesians, it warms my heart that I can be some sort of representation for y'all. It truly is one of the best parts of what I do, and nothing I ever take lightly. My Samoan heritage is a torch I carry with so much love and thankfulness in my heart. If there are three things the world knows about Samoans, they are: one, athleticism is in our bloodline; two, we love to celebrate; and three, we love to sing. Let's see, how much more, where was I going to go? All right, so that's kind of just giving you the basis of who she is and where she comes from. There's more in there, but she goes on to talk about how I was going to read a lot more. I don't think I should read that much more. How much time do I have? I mean, I could read some more, but I don't think so. I think we're good. Anyway, Drew is talking about how after her father quit the NFL or left the NFL, her mother became the breadwinner. He kept coming home to support the family, and he's worked in IT. He's done a lot of other jobs as well, but her mom remains the breadwinner. And she said that he really loved doing it. He really loved, here it is. Wait a minute. I thought I was going to find something in here that she just kind of talks about how all the different jobs he had. He really loved taking care of his family and supporting his wife in her career goals. And so their quote unquote unconventional relationship is what she saw growing up. And so she knows that men can do things differently because she had an example throughout her whole life. So I really like that aspect, because I do think that that's why sometimes people end up behaving the way that they do, because they had examples of such behavior in their life, good and bad. All right, so why don't we go ahead and jump into the discussion questions? Let's see if I can do that. That'll work. There's a lot of things that I want to talk about, so let's see if I can find a discussion questions that'll help me get on our way. So one of the tropes that we have here, hold on a second, let's see if I can fix these lights real quick. One of the tropes that we are going to be talking about, or discussing, I should say, is, there we go, is self-expression and voice. Drew Afualo writes about the importance of finding and using one's voice. How does her journey resonate with your own experience of self-expression? Do you think being loud is always necessary for personal empowerment? Okay, so I think loud is pretty relative. I don't think that Drew is necessarily loud. Is she louder than some people? Absolutely. She might be quiet for folks in her community. But to answer this question, it says, do you think being loud is always necessary for personal empowerment? No, I don't. I think sometimes you could be loud as a whisper, and that's also very important too. Sometimes silence speaks volumes. I just think that Drew is she has a very strong personality. She's gregarious. She's funny as all get out. And I think sometimes people try to tell her that she's loud to check her and to humble her. But to answer the question, I don't think that it is always necessary to be loud to find your voice. Sometimes your intuition whispers, so you have to sit still and be quiet so you can hear it. I just think that Drew happens to come from a culture whose volume is set higher or louder than your standard white Americans, and coming from a culture, Black Americans, who also tend to have a loud volume. I can understand why that is. I don't have to, but I do it. Regulate how loud I'm talking so that I don't scare people at work. I also think that's part of me just being neurodivergent. A lot of times autistic people don't know how loud we're being, and it certainly doesn't help that I come from Black American culture where they don't think that I'm being loud. It's just Tuesday. So anywho, here it is. When I was talking about Drew's background and how it has shaped who she is today, I'm going to put this right here. Let's see. What does she say? Something I'm ever grateful to my parents for in how they raised me and my siblings is that I was lucky enough to have freedom from so many of the shackles of patriarchy that would cause fear, anxiety, and insecurity later on, relatively anyway. Unfortunately, we're never fully immune to the effects of patriarchy. Not only did they take us seriously as developing young people, but they encouraged our interests, no matter how fantastic or silly. Discovering new things to love is fun, and it's a kind of joy I appreciate more and more the older I get. So basically, she feels really supported by her family. Her family supported her and her siblings in being who they are and focusing on education and helping them to develop into constructive members of society. So let's move on to the next question. Let's see, because I have, you know what, I might skip some of those questions because I do have a bunch of marks. So I'm just gonna, not marks, but what are these little flags? So I'm just gonna go through these and see how many of them I can get through in the next 15 minutes or so. So one of the things that she's in the book, she talks about how she wasn't always cozy in her skin. So 10 points if you can name that song that I just quoted the lyric from. So one of the things that I think sometimes when people have big personalities, people who don't often think that the person with the large personality always was like that. And I really like the fact that Drew was very vulnerable in this book and talking about how no, she hasn't always been Baba Yaga. She had a lot to learn and develop and grow and change about herself to become the person she is today. But I like how she was very upfront and honest about several things in this book. One of which is how she was not always cozy in her skin and how she had to work to get there too. Let's see. There's a little excerpt. As confident as I am in myself now, I haven't always been that way. And this can be especially difficult as a femme of color or if you're queer and questioning your identity in any way, because as hard as it is to come of age within societal norms, it's even harder outside of them. So, I think that's really important because Drew is tall. She's like 6 foot something. She mentions it in the book, but she's pretty tall. She is very brown skinned. She's Samoan. And she's got an infectious laugh. And I wouldn't call her fat, but I think other people might. I don't think she's fat. I just think she's tall and not like supermodel skinny. Have you ever seen a supermodel, y'all? I don't mean to be rude, but they look like aliens, y'all. They look like human stick bugs. Those folks are tall and super, 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 super thin. And I just think that if you're going to be 6 foot something, you probably should also be at least 200 pounds. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't think so. Anywho, I would say that Drew, it has an athletic build. I just think people don't realize how tall this lady is. And they want her to, their expectations are for her to look like a android stick bug, and she ain't no android stick bug. She's a whole human being. Anywho, let me quit because I shouldn't have said that about supermodels. But I have seen some in real life, and I'm just like, good Lord, y'all look like stick bugs. I am sorry, y'all. I shouldn't have said that. And I shouldn't keep saying it. Let me stop. Okay, so let's see. She also talks about her parents giving them the power to choose. I'm going to about that a little bit later. And again, when she is talking about in the chapter Be Yourself, that's chapter 2, she's talking about how I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I definitely bought into this mentality when I was younger. She's talking about being a pick-me, which led me to be a pick-me girl in high school, aka catering fully to male attention and approval. More on this dark period of my life later, and she does cover that later in the book. But she kind of just gives a definition of what a pick-me is and how she used to be one and how she recovered from that. And that pick-me, it comes from Grey's Anatomy when Meredith Grey was trying to get this man to fall in love with her and pick her over another woman. Anywho, I never watched that show, but I know where it comes from. All right, so let's see. So let's see if let's ask another question really quickly, because we are talking about identity and cultural expectations. She does go a little bit in the beginning of the book. It's on page 48, how she was experiencing racism at school and how she had to finally tell her mother what was going on. Drew was always a pretty good student. She had been getting straight A's in math until she was faced with a teacher who was always ridiculing the students of color, the Black students and the BIPOC students. And so Drew didn't realize what was happening, because in her culture and Samoan culture, people who impart knowledge, like teachers or who help the community, are held in high regard. So Drew's trying to behave and do what she's told, and not realizing that all of her efforts were for naught because her teacher had some bias. I'm just going to say because her teacher was a big old racist. Let me see if I can, here we go. She's talking about prejudice and whatnot. So let me just read a little bit. What I find especially heinous is when this kind of prejudiced socialization comes from ignorant adults who don't understand the weight that being in a position of power over others carries. For example, when I was in middle school, there was a semester when my grades in math class plummeted. I had always been a conscientious student, raised by my parents to take school seriously and work hard in all of my classes. My mom didn't understand how I was suddenly failing a subject I had gotten straight A's in up until that point. But it was because that year I had been placed in a class with a teacher who was so disparaging and cruel that I became frozen with fear in her classroom, to the point that I refused to raise my hand and dreaded having to go to her class. And it wasn't just me. This teacher had a pattern of making all the non-white students in her class uncomfortable. In retrospect, I can name her clear racial bias for what it is, but at the time, all I knew was that just the thought of going to her class filled me with such trepidation that it was sapping my energy and affecting not only my grades, but also my self-esteem. In a Samoan family, teachers and other figures of professional authority are held in especially high regard because of their role in the community, imparting knowledge and shaping the minds of young children. At 12, I still believed that because she was a teacher, she deserved my respect. I was lucky to have perceptive parents who I trusted enough to share my honest feelings. Once I shared my experience in this teacher's class with my mom, she immediately saw this teacher's behavior for what it was and raised HE into hockey sticks with the school administration. She didn't leave any doubt that what was happening was unacceptable. So there we go again. That's where we're talking about how sometimes children are experiencing things that they can't name or don't have a name for. And it's important that parents and caregivers and the adults in their life provide a safe space for them to feel comfortable saying these things. I've definitely overheard stuff just from shelving carts in the library about how little children were getting picked on. Unfortunately, I have been able to tell the young child in front of their parents, with their parents' permission, hey, I overheard what your mommy was saying. I think that you're very brave for telling your mommy, because you're helping not only yourself, but all these other students who are experiencing the same thing. I did that one time so well that the mother wrote, at the time, I think the library's CEO was John. Yeah, it had to have been him. She wrote him a letter and said thank you, because her daughter was really scared, and having somebody at the library tell her that she did the right thing and that I was proud of her made a huge difference. So it doesn't even have to be your parents, although that would be ideal, but it could be anyone in the community who might be holding some sort of level of authority. And to be clear, y'all, I was pushing a cart. I ain't had no level of authority. I just had the same experience that that little girl did when I was 6 years old too. Can you imagine being a little child who has to stand up to a grown adult while you're also being told to respect adults, especially teachers, but you knew this one wasn't doing something right? That takes a lot of bravery. So again, I really want to emphasize, I think this is why the internet and TikTok, Spotify, really like Drew, because again, for a lot of them, she feels like an older sister, who gives really good advice, who is really trying to look out for you. Okay, so let's move on because we don't have a lot of time. Let's see. Confessions of a Teenage Pick-Me. That's chapter 4. Let me see if I have any notes in there that I want to talk about. Let me see. I don't think that I do. Well, There's some examples of Drew being a pick-me, but I don't think that we need to discuss that anymore. Let me check the comments real quick to see if anybody has any questions. Also, again, while I am here, go ahead and sign up for my newsletter. There is the link right there. Sign up for the newsletter so you can get all these discussion questions ahead of time. Also, if you do want to participate in the discussion on screen, I always send out a link the week before the live stream so that you can test your computer and do all that jazz, and you can come and join and talk on screen if you would like to. So there is the link right there on the screen for the newsletter. Please sign up so that you can get all the inside questions or the discussion questions, the interviews, and all that good jazz. All right. Let's see if we have any. Oh, you know what? I think I want to talk about maybe under the resilience and overcoming adversity. So Drew has faced numerous challenges, including personal loss, societal judgment, and mental health struggles. How does she demonstrate resilience in her journey? What are some of the lessons she shares about overcoming adversity? Let's see if there's anything else. Maybe there's a better question. I want to talk about Drew's sister Dason. They have a podcast, and Drew's sister Dason is gay. When they were growing up, like Drew says, they were 2 years apart, but they were only 1 year apart in school. So they would grow up and go to the same school and have some of the same friends, and they would talk about all the crushes that they had on boys. And Drew's sister Dason came out to Drew when she was in college. And since they were so close, Dason was really concerned about how Drew would handle it, how she would take it. And so Drew talks about how she didn't do so well. She feels like if she could go back and change one thing, it would be how she came out to her sister, one of the people who she loves the most in the world, and how she felt she didn't support her and didn't hold space for her. Let me see if I can get to that part. It's in chapter 4. Oh, I'm trying to take this off without damaging the book. Hold on one second, friends. There. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can't find it. So I'll just briefly tell you this story. So Dason and Donovan and Drew all went to the beach one day, and Drew knew something was up and that her sister wanted to tell her something. So while their brother was splashing around and stuff, her sister came out to her. And instead of saying loving and supporting things, I think they both were in college at this time, Drew just got up and said, I want to go for a walk. I don't want to talk to you about this. I think it was because she was so concerned about what people would say about them and what people would think and how they would accept her sister, and how that might reflect upon Drew. Let me see. I want to try and find it. I think it's right in here. Let's see. That moment of hesitation when Dason came out to me is why I will be loudmouth and opinionated until the day I die, and why I will always call out misogynistic, homophobic, and any other bigoted things. I'm having to censor y'all. I'm trying not to cuss whenever I see it. I could have just said BS. That's what I'll say. Whether that's in person or online. I never risk letting someone else make others, let alone people I personally know and love, feel the way I might have made Dason feel, even if it means losing fans, friends, professional opportunities, or even family, because I am too straightforward about my beliefs. Then so be it, and good riddance. So basically, that's her talking about how she felt so horrible about how when her sister finally came out to her, she wasn't supportive. Her sister was home on summer break, and she even asked, "Do you want me to leave early?" She was trying to give, Dason was trying to give Drew space and everything, and she missed her sister so much, she made up to her and apologized. And she even said, hey, once you kind of do that to somebody, it's not like you can go back to sunshines and lollipops all at one time. But they did reconcile. And she talks about this frequently, about how she felt like she let her sister down. And to be quite honest, I've had family members come out to me, and I did not do as good of a job as I wish I had too. It was me making it all about me. And y'all know I'm queer as a $3 bill. So come on now. Come on. I was disappointed in me too. I was embarrassed in me too. But I am sharing this just like Drew shared it, in hopes that you don't open your mouth and put your foot in it like we did. It is so important that we are careful with our words. Sometimes just being quiet is the best thing. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, it literally will keep people from trusting you, from forming close bonds with you. And depending on else who overhears or hears a story afterward, it can really negatively affect them as well. So everybody needs to be really careful with their words and what they say. I know that right now, in the news, I am not watching it because I am very sensitive and delicate and need to be protected. But I know that people are talking about the Sean Combs trial. I refuse to call that man by his made up monikers. I'm not doing it. He's evil. But Cassie, I don't know your last name, friend. I am so sorry. People are talking about she's the one who suffered at the abuse. One of the many people who suffered from the abuse of Sean Combs. And a lot of people have a lot to say about why she didn't leave early and why she waited for 10 years and all this stuff. For those of y'all who are triggered by domestic violence, I'm sorry I didn't mention that ahead of time. I want to give you time to scroll away. So please scroll away, come back in like 2 minutes. I'll be done talking about it by then. Or mute me, and I'll wave at you like this when I'm done. Okay, so that's why we have to be aware of our words, and we can't just be tossing them out there without thinking how they might affect other people. Sometimes your words can be like boiling water. Would you just throw a pot of boiling water out the window without checking first to see what was underneath it, who you might scald? Well, if you're not conscious of your words and how you talk to people or about people, that's exactly what you're doing. And so I'm glad that she spoke about this in this book, because again, I believe that Drew has 9 million followers across all these different platforms. So that includes TikTok, Instagram. I don't know if she's on Facebook or not. But y'all get what I'm meaning. That's a lot of people who can be influenced by her words. So I'm really glad that she focuses on this book of pointing out how she is not infallible. Pardon me. How she has made mistakes and what she has done to make reparations for the mistakes that she has made, and continues to try and learn and grow. She actually does discuss that in the book too, about how constantly learning new things and expanding your idea of the world and who's in it and how you interact with one another is really important and core for her personal growth. Let's see. Oh, you know what? One of my favorite chapters, we only have a few minutes left, y'all, but I do want to talk about one of my favorite chapters. It's called The Fallacy of Leftover Women. I think it's chapter 5. Let me see real quick. The Fallacy of Leftover Women and Other Misogynistic Myths. I like this because she goes through and she talks to you about different myths, like the myth of the leftover woman, and then she kind of discusses what that is and why it's a myth. Or also, men are naturally business minded and domestic labor is women's work. That's where she kind of breaks down these notions of men and women's work. And to be quite honest, her father would come home and cook and clean and do all those different things while her mother was out making money in corporate America. So while their mother was supporting their father's dream of making it big in the NFL, and when that didn't pan out, he did a lot of other things to support his family. He was more than happy to come home and support his wife and her career aspirations and goals. So I really think that that myth number 2 was put into action because she saw a different reality in her household and in her community. So I really like that part a lot. Myth number 3, girls are drama. So anyway, she, in that specific chapter, she goes through and she talks about all these different myths based in sexism and other things, and she destroys them. So it's like a myth busting chapter. I really enjoyed that. Let's see. We only have a few minutes left. Let me see if there's anything else I want to discuss. I do. There is this one where, like I said in the beginning, how Drew is known as the Baba Yaga of the internet, and how she is not dealing with misogynistic ideas coming from anyone. And how she handles them. In chapter 8, which is entitled, It's Okay to Be Mean, I just want to read this little last excerpt from here, and then I think I will wrap it up. Let me check the comment section really quickly to see if there is any comments. No comments. Okay. Let's see. Also, please remember to share this live stream. If you have come to the book club before and you enjoy what I do, please share the live stream. It lets I was about to say TikTok. We are not on TikTok, y'all. It lets the Facebook algorithm know that you guys enjoy what I do, and it will help to send the live stream out to other people. And then more people will know about this amazing book club and join. Also, please sign up for my newsletter. Again, that's where you'll get all the books that we are reading for the rest of the year, discussion questions, more insights, and things like that. So please sign up for the newsletter and remember to share the live stream so that people know that you like what I'm doing. So that the Facebook algorithm knows that you like what I'm doing. Hit that share button for me, please, and thank you. Also, replay viewers, that you can still share this even after. If you're watching this at a later date and you're not watching it live, you can still share this as well. You can still, that scared me. That was really loud. You can also still comment, and I will see those comments and I will respond to y'all in time. Okay. So anywho, chapter 8, It's Okay to Be Mean. Now, what does she say here? It was hilarious to me. I try not to laugh too loud. Okay, let me just read this real quick and we can end on that note. From a young age, we as women learn to prioritize other people ahead of ourselves, compromising our own boundaries out of fear of how we'll be perceived. In other words, most of us live in fear of being thought of as a as a B word. There we go. But the alternative is so much worse. When we fail to learn to assert ourselves early and often, we run the risk of falling into patterns that expect us to cautiously tiptoe around boundary negotiations with others, terrible men especially. And this applies to straight up lunkheads just as much as it does to insufferable nice guys, both of whom I'll dissect in great detail in this chapter. And she does. It's hilarious to me. As I ask the question, what is so wrong with being mean? And now I'm going to pause here really quickly because I know a lot of times, especially in standard American culture or white American culture, for women to be mean is probably one of the worst things that you could be. I don't consider it mean if you express a boundary. I don't consider it mean if you tell some random stranger, I don't want to talk to you. But because women have been socialized so much to be nice to random people, even if they don't know them, it has become a problem. So much so that people are scared if they're not nice to men they don't know, they could get harmed. And they're not wrong. The statistics do back them up. But also because of the culture that I come from, I was taught to be more assertive, to protect myself, to make myself a harder target. Predators aren't stupid. They're not going to go after somebody who is going to give them a hard time right back, or who looks like they're going to fight and probably win. They're going to go after, just think about if you watch nature documentaries, usually the big hunting cats go after the babies because they're small and inexperienced, or older ones because they're slow, or sick ones because they're weak. And I'm not trying to equate any of that with actual human beings. I'm just kind of pointing out that predator behaviors are predator behaviors. And if you make yourself a harder target, they'll go find something else to do and they won't be playing in your face. Anywho, let's go on. Now, if you know me from my persona online, you know that I'm a menace. I'm ruining dudes' days all the time, and people are still in shock that I'm mean. You want to know who can't take a joke? Take a walk on over to my page. She's talking about TikTok. All it takes is me telling men they look like they work at the movies and drive a Kia Soul, and suddenly I'm the worst. But those who love me and my content get why I do it. And more specifically, they get why I do it that way. While unfunny men with heads shaped like Abraham Lincoln's hat. I'm sorry. Woo! Drew said unfunny men shaped like Abraham Lincoln's hat grow defensive and routinely call me a fat B word who went too far. And when they respond with nothing more than fat phobia and vapid insults, because that's all their bird brains can think of, I laugh. I think to myself, that's what you got? Why are you so upset? I thought we were just making jokes and having a silly, goofy time. I thought we were double dutching and it was my turn. I tell them, you and me, we could have been like Corbin Blue and Keke Palmer in the Disney Channel original movie. Jump in. Why did you suddenly decide to take your ropes and go home? I thought we were having fun. So she gives it just as much as she gives it, or she gives it as good as she gets, basically. I think that's a good spot to end. This book is a short, quick read. It's only 11 chapters. It's like it's less than 250 pages. Again, it's we've been discussing Loud by Drew Afualo, or Loud, Accepting Nothing Less Than the Life You Deserve by Drew Afualo. If you would prefer a audiobook, you can get this on Libby, and that is free with your Pueblo Library card. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I appreciate you hanging out with me for a little bit. I also appreciate the replay viewers as well. We will be back here next month in June, and that book is going to be, it's The Spirit Bears Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White. You can also get that book in audio format as well. Thank y'all so much. I'm going to, hang on a second. My computer is doing a lot of fun things that I do not need it to do. Let me get this out of here. There we go. I don't know how that happened, but it's gone now. Y'all. Something's happening. Let me get out of here. I don't know why that's doing it. Okay, sorry, y'all. Technical difficulties. But I'm fixing to wrap it up anyway. It looks like this live stream is slowing down for some reason. I don't know why. But anywho, the next book, the book for next month is June, is going to be The Spirit Bears Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White. We also have this book available in audio format, so please check out that from pueblolibrary.org. I look forward to seeing you guys next month for our discussion. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.